And it is 6 o'clock. We're going to call to order the school board meeting in District 882. If we can stand for the pledge, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And then if we can note in the minutes, absence of Jennifer Lewis-Kannegieter. Seeking for a motion for approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
So motion made by Melissa Curtis, second by Jeff Hegle. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. No citizen comments tonight. Moving on to the consent agenda. Looking for a motion to pass the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Again, motion made by Melissa Curtis, second by Jeff Hegle. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, same sign. Motion passes 5-0. Then moving down to innovation and leadership. I believe that's Clay. Thank you, Clay.
Good evening. I'll be handling the canvassing of the election results tonight. So clearly there's a lot of time to be spent as we move forward here, discussing and analyzing the results of the special election and a lot more work to be done off of the result. Tonight's agenda item is largely about the official canvassing of the results. So I just wanted to run through and provide a quick summary. I know most of us are well aware of the numbers, but wanted to provide a quick summary before we move on with the canvassing of the results tonight. All three questions failed. Question 1 received 1,056 votes in favor and 1,842 votes against. Question 2, which was the second operating referendum question, failed, receiving 980 votes in favor and 1,914 votes against. And question 3, which was the $2 million annual technology levy, failed, receiving 956 votes in favor and 1,944 votes against. Just a couple of other numbers from the election. Overall, we had 2,905 voters. That's up about 500 from the last special election that the district held. And of those 2,905, 351 were absentee voters. And the election process itself went smoothly. Everything on election day at the community center went well. Our election judges were wonderful, and we thank them for their service. It's a long day for a lot of them. We had 15, 16-hour days for some of our judges, and they're just awesome, and we're really grateful for the help that they provided us. So just wanted to acknowledge that, as well as the help of some of the people in the district office who have really taken on roles that aren't, they fall under other duties as assigned, I guess you could say, and have done really great work with absentee voting and helping out and pitching in wherever they can. So we had a lot of people that did a lot to make this election happen, and just want to acknowledge that tonight. As I said, the main purpose of this tonight is to officially canvass the results. If anyone has any questions, I'm happy to do my best to answer them. Without Superintendent Olson here and Board Chair Kannegieter, I think that it may serve us best to reserve deeper discussion for moving forward. But if anyone, again, has questions, I would be more than happy to try to answer them. And if not, then we would just need a motion to adopt the attached resolution.
I make a motion to adopt the resolution as presented.
Second.
Motion made by Melissa Curtis, second by Jeff Hegle. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you, guys.
And then next is a Wright County update. Brian? Thank you, Brian.
Good evening, Board, and thank you again for having me back. I always enjoy presenting some information on the Wright Tech Center. This is my 5th year already at the Wright Technical Center, and it's amazing how fast time can go. And then I was mentioning to a few earlier that it seems like we have a year and a half void in there somewhere, you know. So it's always kind of difficult to kind of think about, okay, so how far have we come in a short period of time? And it seems even shorter. But just want to highlight a few things tonight. And if we follow along with the presentation too, you know, as the Wright Technical Center, one of the things I kind of want to highlight to all of you tonight is the Wright Technical Center as District 966. And so underneath the umbrella of 966, we have 2 entities. Really, we have Wright Tech. And so do I wish wave it for the next slide? Or there we go, super. So Wright Tech Center is a vocational cooperative established in 1972, and we think about where it is that we're going through next year. So as we celebrate our 50th anniversary in 2022, 2023, I think that's a huge accomplishment, you know, as our member districts have supported the Wright Tech Center for that many years. So in the spring of April of 2023, we're going to have our big open house, but all next year we really want to highlight career and tech and the work that we've done as a vocational cooperative in partnership with our member districts. So when we think about Wright Tech Center as the District 966, we've talked about this for several years, where there's the Wright Technical Center and the Wright Learning Center, and just not necessarily a misunderstanding, but with the 2 separate entities. So the Wright Tech Center, we think of that as District 966. And then, next slide. So then, really, it's home of 2 entities. Wright Tech. Wright Tech is the advanced career and tech classes. And then the Wright Academy, what we've rebranded, our ALC. And so when we think about Wright Tech as the district, and then Wright Technical Center is the District 966, and then Wright Tech Advanced Wright Academy, the ALC. Next slide. So with the Wright Tech, we provide students with 12 different advanced career and technical program choices to meet their skills and interests. Next slide. So the Wright Academy is the alternative and program engaging students with project-based experiences to enhance their curiosity for learning. So this is really kind of more of a shift within the academy itself, because attendance is always part of that biggest issue with ALCs, and having the experiential learning and project-based focus where we have activities centered around experiences within the academy in the attempt to hopefully, you know, have the students more excited about coming to school. We only have about 70% attendance rate at the academy, and so that's something that we always recognize as a concern for us and want students at school, of course. Next slide. So I'm going to highlight this one a little bit. I presented the opportunity at the Monticello Manufacturing Breakfast here a few weeks ago. Next slide. And so when we take a look at our Wright Tech Center brochure, and I know this is something that I've handed out each year to the board members, and so our brochure is really centered around that center wheel that the CTE at MDE has developed. And so just want to highlight our programs real quickly as we go through these. Next slide. So Horticulture Careers is the program that now is in its 3rd year after having been a void for about the previous 5 years. And last year we had our first big spring flower and plant sale, which we're looking forward to again. This year, the Horticulture Careers class is doing a joint fundraiser with the CEO class. And I did put a CEO brochure in front of you. We do have 2 Monticello students that are participating in the CEO class this year. So it's kind of a joint venture between the CEO as a fundraiser. They're going to be selling poinsettias, and then the money that the students raise from that poinsettia sale will go help support the CEO students with their marketing expenses and everything that they'll use as a part of that program, and then part of the fees or part of the dollars, the revenue raised will also go back to the horticulture program as far as the student activities. Next slide. Within the graphic communications, this is an area too that we've developed quite a bit over the last few years with some equipment. Next slide. So then the construction technology and automotive and welding technology are three of our biggest, advanced career and tech classes that we have as far as the, I guess somewhat of the exposure. They're the three main classes that have been around since the beginning of time within the program. And happy to say that our house is already sold this year, the earliest it's ever sold. Took bids, open bids on October 1st, and so sold it for the highest amount we've sold it for, and as early as we've sold it for. And when you think about in terms of a 1,560 square foot home selling for just a little over $102,000, it's pretty affordable yet. So we are able to still manage the budget to where we'll come out a little bit ahead this year, where we're so many years in the past we barely break even, if that. And so it's really nice for the new owners to be able to pick out their flooring and cabinets and everything. So we're hoping that's going to be a thing we're going to be able to continue with the early sale of the home, so where the new owners are able to benefit from that, picking out siding and color choices and floor choices and things. So health science class is always a popular class as well, and I'll say that most of our classes are at capacity, and we'll see that in enrollment here in a little bit. Where the first block this year, it's Delano and STMA, and then second block, Big Lake and Buffalo, and then third block, it's Monticello, Howard Lake, Waverly, Winston, Maple Lake, and Annandale that are in attendance. Next slide. And then our career field of human services, the cosmetology, law enforcement, first responder, elementary childhood, and elementary careers class. Next slide. And then our work-based learning programs. Right now we have about 120 students in the OJT and about 20 students in the youth apprenticeships. And then we have 2 full-time work-based learning teachers that work with those students, making certain that they're doing all of the things that are required within that 450-hour youth apprentice program. Next slide. So then part of the manufacturing presentation too, we talk about the importance of advanced career tech and the trades. And these slides I borrowed from the DEED survey and Luke Reiner. And it just emphasizes and shows too the importance of CTE and the career and trades and what our students' plans, after high school. So it just emphasizes that the next slide you'll see, as far as the amount of jobs that are available for less than a high school diploma. But of course, we want our students to obtain that high school diploma and also go on to post-secondary, regardless, as far as a 2-year trades program where they can get certificates or, their AAU and various degrees, or go on to a 4-year college, depending on what their career goals are. We have 27 of our 27 articulation agreements with post-secondaries for all of our classes too, that the students can, if they choose to go there, once completing the class successfully, they have those articulation credits they take with them. So then 30% of occupations that require nothing more than a high school diploma have median wages of $40,000 per year or more. And many of these occupations pay well over $60,000. So next slide. One of the big things that I visit with too, I gave a tour to a contractor today, and it's the transferable skills, where the students in all the classes, their focus is on problem solving, and where you take a student from construction trades or welding industry for machining. I know the machinists are in high demand, and we don't have a machining program, but depending on what that student's career goals are, I really believe that, with that technical aptitude that students have in attending tech center or even within our own school districts, the career and tech classes, it's the problem-solving skills and abilities that students take with them that make them also transferable in so many different programs and degrees. Next slide. So just take a quick look at enrollment. So you can see with our all the blocks, as far as where at the bottom of the total where the students are that fall within our districts. And so Buffalo's most of the time they're going to be the largest, just because it's easy for the students to attend the Wright Tech Center in the morning. And then STMA is in second place, and then Monticello is 102 students. And so I think last year they had 106, and so it's been up around that 100 mark for a while. Next slide. So this shows the trends, where we can see the last 2 years, we've up and over that 100 mark, where we hadn't been up there since 2014 prior, and in 2010. And we know it's all cyclical too, depending on what is available within the districts and the exposure to career and tech intro classes. And then the next slide shows our all-member districts, and the 2021 number will be adjusted. We take those December numbers to make certain that those MARS numbers fall and land accurately. And then the bottom number is just the trend. So the next slide shows, when we talk about, our enrollment, and we know how the last couple of years has affected our revenue with enrollment. Our tech center classes with Right Tech, our revenue is fixed, regardless whether there's 500 students or 700 students that attend the advanced career and tech class, that revenue is fixed. But what impacts the Right Tech Center as the district financially is the enrollment with Right Academy. And so you can see last year, when we dipped down into those 70s, and the year before was even a struggle. So this year being up into the 90s with that attendance, really our 90 is our sweet spot for enrollment and making certain that classes are filling up and the revenue is coming in, general ed and special ed revenue. Our special ed population, we're only at about 14% this year. We're at over 20. And so that is, and then we have one less special ed teacher too, just because of staffing and how that's worked. And so then it's less reimbursement too. So that also has affected us as far as our revenue. But we're hoping to stay in that 90s all year long so we can get ourselves back up financially. In the next slide, you'll see that where we are as far as a district, that's where it's really impacted us most. And so that decline in revenue is really based on the special ed and the general ed and the tuition billing for our academy program. And then the next slide, this is a challenge we've been facing in that red line that you can see, and that was when we experienced that wall dilemma that we had to work through and deal with. And it really took us, and it set us back. But we really believe that we're on a rebound. We watched the fund balance every month, and this last month it took a dip. But we're going to be able to do a reimbursement drop for the Perkins expenditures, which really set us back about $60,000, and so we'll be doing a reimbursement through Perkins, and it should jump back up. And then with our enrollment too in the academy, it should be fine. And then our facility, like we all experience in maintaining our facilities, and that's what had put us in an impact with our facilities, 4 years ago, was the repairs and updating of the facilities. We're working with ICS to identify priorities for the work that needs to be done. And so we are hopeful, to be able to work on some creative financing. And at a minimum, I guess, what is that we've talked about with the board and my superintendents as my advisory group is that we only have 3 levies left on the 2010 edition. And either that, when the final debt is paid on the 2010, to be able to shift those dollars to LTFM, and it would continue to leave the tax base flat, where the taxpayers and all of the member districts wouldn't see an increase, but we'd be able to increase the amount of LTFM. Either that, or bond against that and defer payment on the bond that we have, on the building bond that we owe, and it would still have a minimum, it wouldn't have any impact on the taxpayers whatsoever, because I know how important it is for all our member districts and the financial burdens that you all have experienced through COVID and the attempts to pass an operating levy. I know how impactful it is. And so through our identifying of our facility needs for the Right Tech Center, we're not going to be coming back and asking our member districts to increase anything. What we are taking a look at is how we can shift some of the dollars from maybe the bond once that's paid, or else from the LTFM and borrowing against, but without having an impact on the taxpayers, because we understand that. We also know that a building that's reaching 50 years old, has needed some work over the time, And we really feel that we're getting the facility back on track where it needs to be for the next several years, next several decades, I guess. Just a real quick information. I hope that you have a question or two for me. If not, please stop in, email me, call me anytime. Melissa, you're a great board member, and I appreciate your involvement and participation at our board meetings. And you know, you can always ask Melissa questions too, and I will definitely get back to anybody that ever has a question. Questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
I always do. Do you have any post-graduation data? I was glad to hear that a lot of your programs you said are nearly at capacity.
Mm-hmm.
Do you follow them, or do you make an attempt to find out, you know, where do they matriculate, and then do they stay in the same career field? Do they switch, and do they graduate?
Right. You know, that's probably the most sought-after answer or question that is asked. And the short answer that I give is that with all of the data for the students that are in attendance at the member districts, we don't have that tracking data, or we haven't been tracking that data. One of the things that we put to task, though, in preparation for our I guess our 50th anniversary is digging into those archives a little bit deeper. We want to try to reach as many alumni as we can too over the years, and so we'll be working with the districts too as we seek out some of that data to determine what has been their career paths. You know, as far as even if they've maintained their careers within any one of the trades, when we talk about those transferable skills. So I do not have that data, but that is something that we've talked about, and that's the one question that we continually are asked, as far as, do we have data to show of the 60 students that we have every year? So of the 600 students of the last 10 years in construction trades or welding tech or health science, how many of those 600 students over the last decade are still actively involved in that trade, or has there been a shift in their career? Great question.
Thank you.
And I'll need to work harder on that answer. Then I don't have an answer. Yes. Any other questions?
Your revenue last year went down substantially because of COVID. What kind of changes did you guys have to implement then?
Well, most of the COVID relief dollars came based on Title I formulas, and we don't have any Title I programming or anything, and so we were really limited as far as our resources that we received for COVID. Thankfully, we thank the Wright County for their CARES dollars that they provided to the district, and we received $91,000 to be able to get us back to where we could start school last year, and with all of the mitigation that needed to be put in place, and signage and just sanitizers and extra touchless water fountains and those types of things that we were able to use it for, and so we were thankful for that. So when we take a look at all of the other ESSER 1, ESSER 2, ESSER 3 dollars and enrollment relief, I'll throw out the number. So between our 8-member districts collectively, there's been over $20 million that's been received. Ours is equated to $106,000. So we really have been at a financial impact due to enrollment, but then a lot of the COVID relief dollars aren't there. But I know that every dollar that our member districts have received has been needed for your size of districts as well. And so the $106,000 that we've received, that amount really helped us a lot. And our most recent one was just the ESSER 3 5%. I think we received $21,000 for that. And so we'll be implementing those grant dollars for field trips for the special ed population and also the academy, some vocational CTE coursework, and some potential staffing that the grant would allow us to use those for. So as far as other, it's just been, we have one full-time custodian, and then we contract out for the other 2 part-time custodians. So we have 3 FTEs, and I think we're really proud of the work we do to maintain the building as well as it is maintained for the staffing that we have and the finances that we have. Any other questions? I invite all of you in for a tour. I'm really pleased at how much progress we make each year moving forward the district in the equipment and the facilities and the improvements that are continually being made with the budget that we have to work with. And so if you haven't been at Right Tech in the last year or two, I gave one tour to one gentleman today from a company that was interested in seeing. And it takes us a little over an hour for a good walk and talk and a tour of Right Tech and the programs. First opportunity, or it's the greatest opportunity just to really see what the programs we have and the work that we've done and improvements we've made and continue to make.
You can learn a lot on a tour, too.
Yeah,
There's a lot going on there. Cool.
no, it's good. Thank you.
Yep.
I think we've got about $1,900 worth of poinsettias right now that are in half of the greenhouse. And so it's a little touch of the holiday season already. And if you want a warm place to go in January when it's cold out, that's where you'll find me sometimes when I go for a walk and need a break, just need some of the tropics. I don't have to walk very far to get some warmth. So I do appreciate the support that Right Tech receives from Superintendent Olson and the Monticello School District and School Board. And we have a CTE advisory board tomorrow evening that one of our instructors and our principal and myself have been involved in. And so I think we've got a great partnership with Monticello District. Some of the funding that we were able to help out with the Adobe suite, we're sharing that as a cost to the, as far as Right Tech, but Monticello is benefiting from that. There's some potential other opportunities with some transportation and students and student orgs that we're looking forward to being able to help out with too through our Perkins grant. So, thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Next up is the Teaching and Learning FCCLA, Amy Fredericks, Ann Runk, and Cindy Foshing.
Thank you so much for having us here. I'm Amy Fredericks. I am one of the Family and Consumer Science teachers up at the high school.
I'm Cindy Foshing, Director of Teaching and Learning.
Ann Runk, Youth Internship and Careers Program Coordinator, and I work really closely with the Career Tech Education staff.
So we are here today to talk to you guys about the potential to bring in a student organization to the high school. It is known as FCCLA, which stands for Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America. You may notice in front of you, we did give you a handout to kind of follow along with some of the key points that we'll be going over. Gavin? Thank you.
So you heard Brian talk.
Oops, that's not the right one.
Something happened. Sorry. We could just go over.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay. That's all right. So anyways,
Next slide.
so the great thing about what FCCLA is that it is a student-led organization, and it is a nationwide organization that really empowers students to become those natural leaders. And you heard Brian talking about transferable job skills. That is going to be one of the things that the students get from FCCLA. They are going to get teamwork, problem solving, leadership, creativity, communication. They're going to learn how to do peer-to-peer education. And they're going to be involved with working with the community. And they're going to be getting prepared for not only, working with each other, but they are going to be preparing for college and career readiness.
So Gavin, if you want to hit pathways, you heard Brian talk about career pathways. At the high school, we've been doing a lot with career pathways in the career tech education, the counseling department, having students look at what are their interest areas, what they can be exposed to. In FCCLA, some of the career pathways are human services, hospitality and tourism, education and training, visual arts and design. We will be coming back to the board. There'll be a presentation on a course that we want to offer next year is Introduction to Education. We're already looking at 2 funding sources that will help support that. So we're excited about that, and you'll hear more about that at another board meeting.
So you heard me talking about those job skills and, doing research myself, with my students and looking to see what employers are looking for in employees. They're looking at those soft skills and, some of those hard skills that students or employees are lacking when they're coming in. FCCLA is going to provide those skills that those employees are missing. And if you look here, it talks about, again, working with other people, leadership, teamwork, creativity, responsibility, decision-making, time management, all of those things that, again, we're just not seeing so much of employees going into the workforce. FCCLA also encourages post-secondary education. And I think we know, as a lot of us are educators in here or support education, that some type of post-secondary education of some type is required after high school. So you can see the percentages up here of FCCLA members that were polled that are interested in going into some type of post-secondary education. So 85% of those students that were polled were interested in going into a state college or university. 25%, or 27, were interested in private college, university. 21 were a community college, and 8% were a vocational or technical school.
Next one. So we understand, I've worked for organizations that you have to be able to fund it, you have to be able to find the resources. So we knew from the minute of the get-go that we need to find ways to support this. So I've listed here what the yearly cost would be for FCCLA chapter. The first one is chapter fees, where there's a grant that's available to us for about $795 or $775 that will pay for all students in family and consumer science courses to be members of the chapter for a full year. So that would cover that. The second thing would be the fall conference. And so I've listed the conference fees. We've been creative. We've talked to Brian, who's been really, really helpful and willing to support through some Carl Perkins money, because he knows the importance of student organizations and also the partnership that Right Tech has with Monticello. So there's $605. You can look at all. We right now need $230 for the fall conference because we just came to us and we want to be able to raise funds to be able to pay for it, but we don't have that time right now. We can't get it because we have to start a chapter first. The next thing would be the region conference, and state conference. So we're already looking at fundraising, and I'll talk about that in the next slide. So you can look at that information. Gavin, do you want to go to the next slide? So here are some fundraising ideas. I'll let Amy talk about some of those.
Yes. So last year we started a new course at the high school called Culinary 3 Pro Start. And part of that course is all the students will become Serve Safe certified. So that is passing a test for safety and sanitation. And so I was kind of brainstorming and thinking, hey, let's put that certification to use and possibly, do a little bit of catering of some sort. So for example, the NHS ceremony is coming up on November 22nd, and they always serve cookies and punch. Well, rather than paying a huge amount of money to, a company to make these cookies, we could make the cookies, earn some money, not have to charge as much, and then that would help offset some of the cost of attending some of these conferences. Our students would be using their certifications, and they would be, doing the work and not just getting the money for not doing anything. There's also some other ideas that we received from our state representative. You have your typical sales, that we've seen before of cookie dough, wrapping paper, butter braids. We could work concessions. I know the Pizza Ranch in town is usually very supportive of, organizations, where they can work and get a percentage of sales on an evening.
I think there's many other
yeah.
ideas. We won't go into all
Yeah.
that too, but I know my sons, through their sports or other organizations, worked at like the local Cub Foods, and they bake groceries and things like that. Amy and Alyssa are great about getting out there and getting some funds. They had a representative speak to the Lions, and they received some funding to help for some equipment. So I have no doubt this will become self-sustaining. We just need to get it approved, and we need to get moving and get our students and start generating some other ideas.
One thing, next slide, please, Gavin. One thing when I was doing research about FCCLA is that really stuck out to me was that it is the only career and technical student organization that has careers that support families as a central focus. And to me, that really stuck out because I feel like this day and age, that is something that is really important for our society, to have that kind of balance between work and family, and to really show students how to find that balance and that support.
Next.
So what does FCCLA do for our students? Well, we talked about the engagement. They are going to be engaged through that career exploration. There is such a plethora of different topics that they can explore, and if you look at the other side of your handout, you can kind of see some of those. They become empowered. I just, mentioned a little bit about that balancing family responsibilities, leadership. I cannot stress that enough. The leadership that they would gain from this organization is just tremendous. There are STEM skills. There's going to be technical skills. The employability, again, Brian, was talking about those transferable skills. They're going to get all those employability skills that sometimes you just don't get just going through school. So you're also going to be working hand in hand with industry professionals, and then just practicing, putting that stuff into practice.
Next. So this kind of got me going along with Cindy when I came on board last year, and it was every career tech education program at Monticello, which includes your industrial tech, includes your business department, includes consumer science, includes me, work-based learning. I'm a CTE instructor. Has to go through a program approval process every 5 years, just like Right Tech does. Okay, and we do it together concurrently. So one of the things they ask us is, what kinds of student organizations in career tech education do you have? And I think a few years ago, maybe 5 or so, a student came to the teachers and said, oh, a friend of mine's in DECA. We have a DECA club. And that's how that club was started, that youth organization. But if you look at that list, we do not have anything else on there. And the State Department said, you need to increase your student organizations. You need to look at your articulation agreements. You heard Brian talk about articulation agreements. And you need to look at certifications. And so the family and consumer science, within a matter of a short amount of time, from last spring, which I'm so proud of them, to this fall, has 9 articulations. They worked on those articulations. Yes, they had to go to a meeting, and we had to let them go to a meeting. But they've got 9 articulations. They'll have the ServSafe certification. And if this gets approved, we will have a student chapter in FCCLA. I don't know if Cindy wants to add anything to that, because that's kind of where through our conversations it started.
So when we first applied for our CT funding back in 2018, I think was our first year, when we got feedback from MDE and saying that we were approved, the first thing they did say is, in order to, when you get pre-approved, and this will be again in 2023, Ann, is that right?
Yes. Yep,
2023, we have to apply, we need to improve upon our student leadership organizations. And so very proud again of our fax department, went ahead with the Pro Start. We have that now. DECA was implemented, and now if we could get the FCCLA, give those students an opportunity for leadership and increase our probability of being approved again in 2023.
And a few other things, if you look down in kind of the bottom of the list, it's also about what are we doing for experiential learning and what are we doing with our business education partnerships. And that's what I'm trying to do along with the staff with our Career Tech Education Advisory Committee and connecting with the Right Technical Center and others. Next.
So as I mentioned before, FCCLA really will be student-led. When we have chapter meetings, they can be held during homeroom. A lot of it will kind of depend on the schedule that is being implemented at the high school at the time. We'll try to find a time that is the best, that will be able to include as many students as possible, whether that would be during homeroom, open lunch, whatever it might be at that time. The students will decide on what they want to kind of do for the fundraising. They will be in charge of kind of organizing different activities, recruiting other students to participate, sending out the thank you notes. They will be the ones that will be in charge also of kind of promoting FCCLA activities. So we have our student news, we have a high school newsletter that goes out to families. They'll go and do classroom presentations. And then again, partnering with, different businesses in the community and just assisting at the different conferences that we would go to, and helping out that way as well, because there's different opportunities at all the conferences for the students to get involved and assist there. So again, what is the benefit of having FCCLA at Monticello? It is inclusive to all students, 9 through 12 at Monticello, in all ability levels. As Ann mentioned, with the grant, all FCS students would be enrolled as members this year if we were to get the grant. And if you look at our rosters, we have students of every grade level and every ability level that take our classes. And it's an amazing thing. And these students would all be included in this program in years to come. Every ability level, every grade level could be a part of this organization. And
A few of the things with that is that what's a little bit different about the move in FCCLA is that a lot of stuff is done within the class. So you have an example of what an interior design scenario would be. So students who are in interior design would be doing the activity just like they're competing. And maybe the competition would be in class, and those that want to go and to region and to compete, they can, but they're getting it in the classroom. There's not after school time. The staff are not asking for any money to be an advisor. They're doing it on their own time, but a lot's going to be done within the classroom, within the curriculum, within our home rooms, recruiting members and having meetings. So I just want to make sure that's mentioned.
yeah, so part of the membership is, as advisors, we get access to this curriculum for these what's called STAR events, and that stands for Students Taking Action with Recognition. And on the back side, where it talks about all these different competitive events, the main one that a lot of students choose to do are the STAR events. And that is what that interior design scenario is right there that you have linked in that presentation for you. That is what we can incorporate into our classes immediately and part of our curriculum. And if a student says, hey, I really like this kind of stuff, and this is really, really cool. I want to, I'm really interested in fashion or a different topic. I mean, we have a ton of different categories to choose from. And they could say, I really want to focus on something about this, maybe shaken baby syndrome. They can find a competition that has to do with shaken baby syndrome, put it together with a partner, and they can choose to compete with that at a competition. But again, it's all optional, that outside of the classroom stuff. It doesn't have to happen. So that's kind of what that was talking about.
Just a few other facts, in case you're going to be asking these questions. Data from Minnesota FCCLA chapters in Minnesota in 2018-19. Obviously, before COVID, there was 3,431 students involved in the chapter. 59% were female, 41% were male. They did a lot of surveys with about 600 students, and the students reported being engaged in FCCLA has helped them 88% increase time management skills. Also be more responsible. Probably the biggest one to me is the communication, as I've been helping a student who struggles with speech and had to give a speech last week. I would meet with them 3 times a week just to prepare for that speech. And I think competitions and these kinds of events help all students, and the skills that they're going to learn, they're going to take forever. I'm very passionate about student organizations. You can probably tell. You can ask Mr. Revnick. We've talked about it. Both my sons are in BPA. I started the first youth organization in Minnesota for at-risk kids, and my husband was a FFA advisor. So, questions?
Do you have a projected number of our students in Monticello that would be part of this right away?
first would be every student. If we get the grant, every student that's in FCCLA classes, we're probably talking about 600 students, I think. I think that's
Yeah,
the
so
original
all of
data.
the students who registered right now for the first semester and second semester of my classes and then Alyssa Ambrosius's classes would be automatically members. And then we would, like we said, talk about it, kind of get that going and promote it. Take some students to some, the leadership conference to get them kind of more information about it so then they can come back and really promote it and really kind of understand what it's about and educate the other students about it to really get it going. So as like a hard number of, how many would want to after that, it's hard to kind of gauge. But I do know there is a want for student organizations at the high school. I just took over another student, Interact, and my first meeting, I had 60 students show up to the first meeting. I am now up to 70 students, and I've done it for a month now. So they're wanting something for themselves and to be a part of something, especially after missing out for the last year and a half on stuff.
More opportunities for them, especially when it sounds like all abilities can be part of it, is, and that it can be done during the day, so they're so full of after activities. More of those, so this sounds like it's very helpful.
Yeah.
I love the creed of it. I don't know if anybody else looked at it, but we face the future with warm courage and high hope. I think that's a creed to have.
Yeah. I personally was in it when I was in high school, so, I really enjoyed it. I went to a small school, so the state conference was in Bloomington, and we thought that was really cool at the Radisson. So, it was really, it was really exciting. I really found myself there and learned public speaking skills, like Ann was saying, and I wasn't a huge athlete, if you can't tell. So it was my little niche.
When does the grant get applied for?
We can apply for it immediately.
Any other questions?
Just a comment. Obviously, I think it's great because it just provides another, it's kind of like when we had a trap shooting, we just provided so many more opportunities for students that were involved in something and gave them something to be part of, and I think this is very similar. Obviously, this is the first time I've seen this, so there's some dollars involved with this, and so I would like to have the opportunity to look at this with the budget committee. Budget committee meets on tomorrow, Tuesday. So, and we haven't, unfortunately, some things have changed with dollars and things that we need to start looking closely at this stuff. So if we could look at it at the budget committee tomorrow and have a discussion, then I would like to table it and bring it forward to the meeting on the 15th. And then if we could have more time to talk about the information, that would be awesome. So.
Yeah, we are under some deadlines. Because this is kind of new to me as far as having to bring this to the board. And when I found out, I went, oh, okay. We've been in a lot of conversation. I was getting data for the grant. I was getting stuff like that. I have laid out, like on the budget sheet, what that would be. But then our hope is that we are not accessing any of that we're fundraising. The only thing that we're asking right now would be the $230 for the fall conference. The rest, we're looking at how we can generate from fundraising activities, and I don't know the policies about fundraising, so I have to find them out here in Monticello, but I'm sure Mr. Rebnick could tell me, so we're not double dipping in same locations or places.
What is the date again of the fall conference?
November 15th is the fall conference.
They need time to be able to register for that conference in advance, so
That's next week.
It all kind of came at us very, very shortly. It was not something we had anticipated.
We talked about last spring with Mr. Rebnick. I talked about a student organization with Alyssa and Amy, and then I went to their office on, I don't remember what day it was in the fall or in September, and I said, we really need to be looking at student organizations. We need to relook at that again. And then the grant came out that day. The next day it was, I think, and Alyssa to me, the grant application.
Yeah, I did. And then it just came out and it all just happened it all needed like to be done yesterday, and it was just like a whirlwind, and
Right now, your only cost, right now, you're asking for $230.
Right.
If we get the grant though, correct? So,
Pretty much have guaranteed. I'm in conversations probably twice a week with Wendy Ambrose from the State Department. State Department, CCLA
Yes,
leadership. I
well,
always think
yeah.
the State Department.
What does it cost if you don't get the grant?
What would be the cost if we don't get
Does
the
every
grant?
student still
Then a
register?
student would have to pay $20 per chapter fee, and staff would have to pay for a chapter fee. Right now,
Grant
it's
covers-
$775 free for any student that's involved for the school year, including middle school life skills students.
the 8th graders.
So once you, so if we approve this, you can apply for your chapter. You can register for this conference, which is $230,
A little more, but Brian's giving us the money.
okay? So at what point does a fundraiser take place to replace these dollars?
I would say ASAP, as soon as we get approval, we can, we can't learn more about it until we go to the fall conference, and we can't really we can go to the fall conference, no matter if we're a chapter or not, to learn about it. But that's where we're going to learn a lot more about what are some other ideas. Wendy has sent us fundraising ideas. I haven't fundraised in Monticello. However, I know these ladies are great at it, and we already have brainstormed ideas of how we could do that.
Have you checked with other resources throughout the school just to see if there is a pot, not necessarily a pot of money, but if there's contributors throughout the community that have said, if you guys come with, something that you need, let us know. Have you reached into that with other admins or?
So, with everything going on with finances here, we really haven't, we've talked, we've had conversation, and we're like, can we come up with $230 so we can go to the fall conference if we can beat that? That's all we're asking. And Cindy can attest to, we reached out other places to get the funding. My husband was going to donate money. He can't because how we have our scholarship set up for the foundation, you can't just donate money. It goes to the scholarships only. So if you're in finance, like my husband is, you have to go on the website and it says Monticello Scholarship, whatever it is. He's going to donate $1,000. I'm like, forget it. We're going to get this done. I'm going to make this happen. But he could not donate that money through the system. It has to be through the system because finance is regulated. And then our nonprofit is just for scholarships for students to go on to college. If we can change that.
So after the $230 fee, do you foresee any costs in the future?
Hopefully not. No, I mean, our goal is to not. Our goal is to be a self-sustaining organization. That is how we foresee this going forward in the future. Students would pay the $20 activity fee. I believe, if I can say another.
After next year.
DECA, yes, DECA, I believe,
I don't know.
it's a lot more. I know it is a lot more because my daughter was in it. It's a lot more just to join. It's over $100 to join their activity fee. Ours would be $20 for a student. And that would be it. And then, if they make it to, state or something like that, then we would have to, they would have to go above and beyond and do the fundraising and stuff for them to cover like their hotel costs, their registration fees. But really the $20 is all they would really need to get registered, to become a member of our chapter. And then everything else, all the conferences and stuff, all the extra competitions is all optional. We can do everything else here in Monticello. We can do volunteering in Monticello. We can work with businesses here in Monticello and partner with them. We get the curriculum and stuff. That conferences are all extra if the students want to participate. This fall leadership conference, again, like Ann was saying, is just so we can learn, because I said I was in it in high school. That was a long time ago, and I was on the student side of it. I wasn't on the leader side of it, and so I don't know what it means to be a leader for FCCLA. But from here on out, yeah, the program, our goal is to have it be self-sufficient, and we would take care of ourselves, because we know nobody really has the extra money to go around to be able to support a new group right now.
Make a motion to accept your chapter approval.
Second. Motion moved by Jeff Hegle, second by Melissa Curtis. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Safe and healthy culture, Clay.
Hi, just here to kind of provide you with our monthly COVID update. Kevin, if you want to move forward. Okay, we'll get to a couple more of these things in depth, but just a quick overview to start. Our COVID cases in the district have remained pretty steady week by week. We saw an initial decline through the opening couple months, and as you'll see in a minute, this week they just ticked up a tad, but pretty minimal increase. We, as I'm sure all of you know by now, the vaccine, the Pfizer vaccine, has been approved under the EUA, Emergency Use Authorization, by the FDA, as well as recommended by the CDC for the age group 5 to 11-year-olds. With that news, we have partnered with Wright County Public Health to bring a vaccine opportunity to youth in the Monticello community, and there's another opportunity through CentraCare Health, and I'll get to a couple more details on that in a moment. And then lastly, we touched on this last month, but we're just kind of continuing to implore parents and staff with the same message, that is to get tested often as available and to really stay home when sick. I know, again, we touched on it last month, but the best thing we can do right now is to make smart decisions both for ourselves and those around us, and we're continuing to implore families and our teachers and other staff to stay home when sick until you can rule out COVID-19 to help minimize disruption and keep everyone around you safe. Those vaccination opportunities. So with Wright County Public Health, they are going to be using our facility at the middle school. It will be the clinic will be for 5 to 11-year-olds, and it will be from 3 to 7 p.m. on November 18th. It will be held in the arena entrance, also the kind of the school entrance to the Moose Sherritt Ice Arena, but within the school itself. Parent or guardian must be present with the child. And Wright County Public Health will be holding a second dose clinic 3 weeks later on December 9th in the same location at the same time. That is entirely through Wright County Public Health. It's not the school district clinic in any way. They're using our facility, and we're sharing information and trying to just provide a close by opportunity for students and families that want to take advantage of it. At the same time, CentraCare Health in Monticello will be providing a couple of designated events for students in that age group. One of them is tomorrow morning, and then again next week on the 16th. Those are both first dose opportunities for kids in the 5 to 11-year age group. Those will run from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m., and there will be second dose opportunities on November 30th and December 7th. People call CentraCare Connect to sign up for those, and all this information has been sent to our families in an email with the phone numbers and the registration links and flyers, and all of that information. And then lastly, I mentioned the trends that we're seeing with COVID cases. Here's a look at our latest dashboard and the week-by-week cases. We had 8 confirmed cases in students from October 28th to November 4th, and 3 in staff members across the district. So you can see on the right there that just puts us up a little bit from where we were the couple weeks prior, but still below where we were at the start of the school year. Do board members have any questions regarding this COVID update?
I have just a question about the 2 opportunities coming up for the 5 to 11-year-olds. Are those pre-registration only, or are there walk-in opportunities for those as well?
I think at this time they're both pre-registration only.
All pre-registration, so they come with the correct supplies.
Yep, and Wright County Public, the email we sent out to families has an appointment link for Wright County Public Health, and if it's not posted on our website, we'll make sure it's available there as well. And CentraCare encourage people to call that CentraCare Connect phone number, which we also shared with our families.
Any other questions? Thank you, Clerk.
Thank you, guys.
And then Barb with policy. Oh, sorry. Tina, Additional food service hours, sorry, team.
All right, good evening. Tonight I wanted to go over requesting additional time for our food service staff. We were seeing a downward trend in our meals served over the last 4 years going into COVID. Last year we did see a big drop, and that may have been due to where we only offered 2 different types of meals at all buildings just to help with the labor and the supplies and all the packaging and meal prep that went on. We had a cold option and a hot option for most school sites. So going into this year, based on what we knew on where we ended the year, we staffed based on that lower level of meals served. But now through the first month and a half, we've seen an increase in our meal participation, maybe because meals are free, maybe because we have more options. It's hard to tell. So we do need to increase our labor force in the food service department. So when we were considering different ideas, we came up with the thought of raising our lower numbered hours of day staff up to 4 hours, because we know everybody's having a challenge to find additional help and additional bodies. There's just not that labor force out there. So let's increase the hours of the people that we do have to help with some of this. But we did need to add a position at Pinewood just because they help out with the nature-based program, and increasing hours wouldn't do that, wouldn't do enough. We need more bodies to help get the meals done and ready by the time it's needed at nature-based and to be delivered, and then by the time the students at Pinewood come through the kitchen. So I had a summary of the staff that agreed to go up to 4 hours, and then the open positions and the new positions at Pinewood to get us to the 4 hours, to get kind of where we are needing for our labor force. And the additional meals projected that we'll have the rest of the year cover the additional labor added.
Second. Motion moved by Jeff Hegle, second by Melissa Curtis. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Can I ask you a random question? Not really random, but related to food service. How many additional hours, just a guesstimate, does each building have for food service due to breakfast?
Oh, I don't know. And breakfast is hard because some of it can be grab and go. It's already kind of prepackaged, whether it's some of the strudels or banana breads, and some might take a little more meal prep, like with a breakfast biscuit. But depending on what the breakfast is being served, a lot of that's kind of easy to do and put together. So we've had our breakfast program last year more than doubled the previous year. So we've seen a nice increase to our breakfast program. So hopefully in the future, if meals aren't free anymore, that kids are getting used to having breakfast and enjoy coming to breakfast, and it's not, kind of discouraged because maybe it should be for people that can't afford it or whatnot. It's really a good breakfast for anyone.
So with the dollars coming in for the free meals, do the dollars cover the additional costs of the staff, or is that on our budget?
Nope. So all the free meals, I have to submit monthly the meals served to the state, and based on what we serve, we get a federal reimbursement and a state reimbursement. So that covers the food costs, the labor, and all the supplies and everything that goes into it. Good.
Just getting started.
And then
We're bringing forward several policies for second reading tonight. Policy 410, family and medical leave. Policy 413, harassment and violence. Policy 414, mandated reporting of child neglect or physical or sexual abuse. Policy 415, mandated reporting of maltreatment of vulnerable adults. Policy 506, student discipline. Policy 514, bullying prohibition policy. Policy 522, student sex non-discrimination. And Policy 524, network system and internet acceptable use. The policy committee has had an opportunity to work on these policies with MSBA recommendations and MDE recommended changes. These policies have had a previous first reading, and all board members have had the opportunity to review the policies in their board packet. Are there any questions at this time regarding these policies? No questions, so then we just want to thank the policy committee for working on this work. And Acting Chair Carda, I believe these policies are ready for approval.
Looking for a motion to approve policies as presented.
So moved.
Motion made by Kathy Ziebarth, second by Jeff Hegle. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Looking for a motion to adjourn.
Seconded.
Motion by Jeff Hegle, second by Kathy Ziebarth. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.